This is CBS 42 College Football Saturday. Pregame, presented by Pepsi.
Rivalry week in college football, where hatred courses through your veins, and nowhere more so than Bryant-Denny Stadium. 2:30 here on CBS 42. It's Alabama trying to make the playoff, and Auburn trying to salvage a season and ruin Alabama's. CBS 42 has team coverage on this college football Saturday. Chris Wrinkle is covering our Alabama beat. Simone Eli covering our Auburn beat. Meanwhile, elsewhere on campus, Hillary Simon with a couple of guests today, Jack Warrior and Michelle Logan, partying with the Crimson Tide and Auburn Tigers fans. Houses divided all across the state. I'm sure we'll check in with them in a little bit. I'm Chris Brees here with former Alabama All-American Mike Johnson. Outside the Walk of Champions, this is your first time not taking part in this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my first time coming back and actually seeing the buses pull up. And the atmosphere is absolutely electric out here outside Bryant-Denny Stadium. I've been to an Iron Bowl or two since I was done playing, but just getting out here amongst the people and seeing the excitement, you almost forget year in and year out how excited everybody is to be at this game. Just a different feeling when you see that orange and blue walk by and the crimson and white, and everybody just ready to get this post-Thanksgiving clash underway.
That Walk of Champions happening at 12:30. We're on with you till 1:30. Here's what we have coming up on CBS 42 College Football Saturday. The court is in session. Nick Saban gets another national title. That would be 7 overall, passing Bear Bryant for most all-time in college football history. Would that make him the greatest of all time? The not-so-honorable Chris Wrinkle will debate at Senior Day at Auburn last week, for Alabama this week. But number 57, Deshaun Davis, he is Auburn's emotional leader, and he's hoping for more lasting memories. The journey of a troubled past, what it took to get to Auburn, and the special relationship he has with one local boy, a tradition they do not miss every single week. Outside of Bryant-Denny Stadium, implications for post-game conference championship games, especially with UAB. They're up in Murfreesboro today in Tennessee to play Middle Tennessee State. If they get a win, they will host the Conference USA Championship. But even if they lose, UAB still in decent chance to host the CUSA Championship. We'll tell you why that is coming up. What is on the line here today for Alabama and Auburn? Mike, it's really simple. We know that Alabama, you can't lose 2 straight games, still go to the college football playoff. But for Auburn, it's this. Bowl game scenarios are real. Everyone talks about we want motivation and momentum for next year, and Auburn can get a January 1 bowl game if they win this.
Yeah, they definitely can. You're still not out of the picture with some of the bigger January 1st bowl games. Even looking at something like the Outback Bowl, the crazy thing is with the jumbled mess in the middle of the SEC, it's going to be a bit of a selection for a lot of these bowl committees to look and see who they want to take. Could be January 1st, could be all the way back with the Liberty Bowl somewhere on December 26th, 27th. So there is a lot on the table for Auburn today in terms of winning this football game and making sure they're set up their bowl projections for the future. You've
been on both sides of the winning team who's trying to make a championship run and the team who wants to ruin a season. Is there any difference in motivation for the team who's supposed to win and the one who's not?
Not in this game right here. There's really not a lot of difference in this game right here, and you're going to have the motivation. Anytime you've had a season that's been a little bit of a letdown the way Auburn has this year under Gus Malzahn, you're going to take aim at this football game. If you're not getting it done this year, you definitely don't want your in-state rivalry to be able to get it done this year and go on to win a national championship. That's what Auburn's trying to avoid here today when they take on the Crimson Tide.
CBS 42 has team coverage across the board all day on this college football Saturday. Chris Wrinkle, Simone Eli, Hillary Simon are all with us. We start with Chris Wrinkle covering the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Well, a lot of people wondering if there was going to be a motivation issue after what happened with the Citadel last week, Alabama being tied at the half with an FCS team. This Auburn team doesn't exactly strike fear into the hearts of their opponents this season, just kind of the way things have been. But Nick Saban said, if you need some motivation to get up for this game, there might be just something wrong with you, and there's going to be no question this team is ready to go when they take the field.
You know, obviously turning the page and looking forward to, you know, what is a big game to a lot of people, the Iron Bowl. All over the state and really all over the country. Certainly an opportunity in the game as a competitor you always look forward to. And, you know, a lot on the line for our team in every game that we play right now. So most of the time when our players are ready to play, they play better. If I had a meter that I could stick on somebody's hip and figure out exactly what that meant, we would try to get that meter on the right spot for every player on our team. But I think it's not just about the emotion when the game comes. I think it's more about what you want to accomplish, how important it is to you, how you prepare, how you work all week long, so that when you get in the game, you've created the right habits to go in and play well. And hopefully we're going to have the right energy and intensity to be able to do that throughout this week, because it's a really big game. It's a big game for a lot of our players. It's a big game for our team. It's a big game for our fans. I hope we get to the right place. But without the meter, I'm not sure I can make that judgment correctly on every player, but I'll do the best. We'll do the absolute best we can.
And that's what makes Nick Saban so good in coaching in these games, because the emotions of a game that go all over like a roller coaster, he wants his guys even keel the entire time. Yeah, this game means a lot, but it's just another game that the Crimson Tide need to win to get to their ultimate goal. For more on this game and the Auburn side of things, we go to the other side of Bryant-Denny Stadium, where we find Simone Eli. Simone?
Well, Wrinkle, we are here in the southwest corner of Bryant-Denny Stadium, considered the dark side right now for Tide fans. That's because in about 20 minutes, Tiger Walk is going to go down right here behind me. Now, earlier this week, head coach Gus Malzahn and Tiger players spoke with the media. They know they're the big underdogs, but they are not showing it. They have confidence that they've played upset against a top-ranked Tide team before.
Iron Bowl week, obviously playing Alabama, a very impressive team. When you look at them offensively, they're the number 3 team in the country offensively, which really stands out to me. You know, playing in this league against the defenses that they face is very impressive. Their quarterbacks playing at extremely high level, protecting the football, throwing the football. They also have one of the better quarterbacks in the country as a backup. You got to raise your level in this game. You got to raise your level, and you got to find a way to get it done, and you got to be balanced to have a chance to beat them. We know each other very well, know what we got to be able to do, but you got to do it. You got to raise your level to be able to do it. Now, this is Auburn, and it's Iron Bowl. We don't have to bring anything up. This is a game that our guys look forward to. Their guys look forward to. I don't know, when we have beat them the last 2 times, we probably weren't the favorite. So, we'll see what happens. It's a challenging place to play. Obviously, we won in 2010. 2014 was a shootout. We came up a little short, but you got to play good football. I mean, you got to play good, clean football and have a chance to win.
So this is a live look at Tiger Walk right now. The Tigers set to arrive here at Bryant-Denny Stadium shortly, and you can tell Gus Malzahn motivated for a win, but even more so are these senior players, especially linebacker Deshaun Davis. He wants a win in his final Iron Bowl. We'll hear from the players just ahead. Guys, back to you.
And could you imagine what it would be like for Auburn fans if they could pull the upset on Alabama? And speaking of the fans, Hillary Simon out there with both Alabama and Auburn fans trying not to hurt each other, right, Hillary?
Chris, that is absolutely right. And everybody's been very civil here, but you find many Alabama fans here. We want to take you in, though, this bar. Of course, I've got Jack Roy and Michelle Logan with me. We're hanging out today with all the fans. Have you checked out this bar yet?
I have, and I have to say, you mentioned people are being pretty civil. I know I spent 4 years here, so we know where my allegiance lies, but that does not mean that I am not an unbiased journalist. This is a pretty cool place to be.
You had to get that out of the way. First thing. But yeah, this is such a nice setup. Everyone has full setup, so you got your food, all your tailgating necessities. And look at this bar here. They've collected all these tickets. They told me these are the printed versions of them, so it's not the real one. But these are the games they have been to, and everything has something unique. I want to even look at this. Look at the knobs. You've got elephant here. I love it. So this is the thing about this RV park, is that there is a uniqueness to everything you're seeing.
Well, one thing we know is Alabama fans do not mess around. No fan messes around with the Iron Bowl, and that's proven true here at Coach's Corner for sure.
Absolutely. So we're going to be hanging here at Coach's Corner with a bunch of people, everybody gearing up and getting ready for the Iron Bowl. So we'll send it back to you in the studio for now.
I mean, it makes sense, Hillary. Biggest tailgates for the biggest games, that's what you have. And last night, we had a couple of ridiculous games, Mike, that are going to shape the playoff next week.
Yeah, a lot of points being scored and not a lot of defense going on last night in some of these games.
Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Washington State. Washington, what it all means is coming up next. But before we go to break, right now the scoreboard says zeros. Alabama is hoping that will turn into, 30, 40 points for the Crimson Tide. Auburn hoping the other way. We're back after this.
The Spectrum high-speed highlight of the game.
It was supposed to be the game of the year in the Big 12 all season long, and Mike, I don't think West Virginia and Oklahoma disappointed. You like points, you like the over, you had to be so happy last night.
Yeah, if you like the defense, though, and you like stops and you like fourth down stops, you were not in a good mood last night. Twitter was on fire last night with people just hating all over both of these
And how about Kyler Murray? And that touchdown, there's like 5 West Virginia defenders on the goal line. Wide open in the back of the end zone is Curtis Bolden. Oklahoma wins it close on the road, 59-56. Washington State still barely holding on to some chances in the college football playoff. They have to beat Washington, though. They have not done that in 7 tries, and Washington came to play last night on the ground.
Yeah, you got to love Chris Peterson. This defense was ready to face off with this air raid attack from Mike Leach and company. Was not that tough of a task for him getting the huge win last night.
And then it got ridiculous with all the snow. Washington has basically ran the ball. State could not stop them. And there goes Wazoo's playoff hopes. They're not going to go to the Pac-12 championship game. That's Washington and Utah, 28-15. You could make the claim that the race for the playoffs so far has been so boring, but lo and behold, last week, the first time all ever since 2014 with the playoff that the top 10 stayed the same. So now we're in the final week of the season and people are just begging, please get some chaos with college football in the playoff next week. Mike, we very well might see that come this week because we have rivalry week ahead this week. And, of course, you see the playoff standings. Again, the top 6 have not changed whatsoever. So you're looking at this saying, okay, what do we have to do to have some drama here? Well, last year, Auburn, they did their part because you saw what they did to Alabama. Yep. Alabama had to squeak in at the very last second. We could have the same exact thing happen today, too, with Michigan and Ohio State. Yeah, we definitely could. That game obviously being a rivalry game. Michigan's going to be favored, but anything can happen. Urban Meyer's still coaching a very good football team. And you're right. We've been begging for chaos all year long. Can USC possibly do something against Notre Dame? Can Auburn pull it off against Alabama? Maybe even Georgia Tech with that triple option facing off against Georgia today. Possibly some havoc coming out today. But you know what? I wouldn't bet on it. These teams are in the top 5, top 6 right now. Very good football teams. Last night with Oklahoma, it was time and time again, this team is giving up so many points. Do you think the committee's looking at that and saying, yeah, this team can play offense, but their defense is so abysmal? Would that play an issue with a one-loss Big Ten champion? I think it definitely would, and I think that's an issue to look at anytime you're looking at any of these football teams. You're looking at Ohio State, you're looking at Oklahoma, you're looking kind of measuring these two programs. Ohio State can play a little bit better of a defense. They can come out and actually hit you in the mouth. Michigan going to play a big style defense too. A lot of people, although Oklahoma's way in front of Ohio State, a lot of people looking at Oklahoma and wondered, where is the defense? Could they possibly go, play for play with some of these football teams in the top 5? I don't think so. It's going to be interesting to see the way this thing's kind of pan out yesterday. The committee loves to see favorites. Yep. They don't want to see underdogs win games and make their job so much tougher, because that's what the Auburn Tigers did last year. Simone Eli back with us on the other side of the stadium. Nobody could forget what happened in 2017.
No, they can't, Brees. The Tigers and the Tide players, both of them not going to forget what happened in 2017, but for very different reasons. Of course, Auburn playing spoiler at Jordan-Hare Stadium of the #1 Tide, going on to win the West, but of course losing to UCF later on. We know how Alabama's season ended up, but this is the Iron Bowl. You can forget about everything else. These two teams want to win today. Last year, Auburn dominated the line of scrimmage, especially third down defense, but hey, that was against quarterback Jalen Hurts. He's very different than Tua Tagovailoa. We know that. Oh, and by the way, we're no longer in Auburn. We're here in Tuscaloosa at Bryant-Denny Stadium. You better believe these Tide players want revenge from last season, and they want to get that W here on their home turf.
We're the sole team, the lone team in the country that can say that we've beat them, and within the last calendar year. And I think the main thing is, you can't look too much in the past?
Well, with the Iron Bowl, you hear about it all the time. Whatever happens the previous year, you hear about it until the next game, and you'll hear about it for years, pretty much.
So motivation on both sides. One wants the win, the other wants revenge. You can see behind me a lot of Tiger faithful ready to kick this thing off. Tiger Walk in just a few minutes. We'll have that later on in the show. Guys, back to you.
So we know Alabama's already wrapped up the West Division, and in the Conference USA, UAB has done the exact same thing. But now they're playing for more today. Home field advantage in the championship game next week. Up next, we go through scenarios of what needs to happen for that to work. Plus, Hillary Simon holding down the fort with all the fans.
That's right, Chris. We're having a great time with all the fans here in Tuscaloosa. Oh, nice catch there. You having fun?
Best one of my life. Yeah, we're having a great time out here in Tuscaloosa.
How about you, Michelle? Everyone's in great spirits coming together. We love it.
We'll stick with CBS 42. We'll have more coming up after the break.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday pregame, presented by Pepsi.
Hey guys, how's it going? We are hanging out with a bunch of fans today for the Iron Bowl. We got a good mix. As you see, we got a lot of roll tide. We're covering the one Auburn fan. You drove in from Huntsville, right?
Yes, we are. Huntsville.
What is it like to be around a bunch of Alabama fans?
Well, I had to grow up with some of them, unfortunately, but they're seeing the better side of it now. We had the better of them this last year and probably this year, too. So.
Have you been out to this RV park before?
Not this one. I go to the one in Huntsville.
What do you think about this area?
Well, it's nice. Red's okay. I'll put up with the red today.
You don't have to. I have a phrase.
All good fun.
What are you predicting for this game?
Ask him who got the RV spot, okay? Was it Auburn or Alabama?
I had an Auburn spot all this year.
Oh, okay.
God's country. There you
God's country.
Can we do a little? I think we need to do a focus group here. Can we see who's Roll Tide? Can we get a Roll Tide? All right. Let's get a War Eagle. War Eagle, anybody?
War Eagle!
Well, that's a small one, but look at this. This is our buddy here. Watch this really quick.
Sophie, would you rather be for Auburn or be dead?
And the dog apparently goes dead. So we'll send it back to you in the studio right now.
Speaking about Middle Tennessee, I mean, they are playing very, very well. 3 losses against SEC schools, 1 loss without their quarterback at FIU. So it's going to be a big deal to them. It's going to be a big deal to us. But to get the game back here would be tremendous.
Well, things are real simple for UAB today. Get a win at Middle Tennessee. They host the Conference USA title game. But throw in a wrench to this plan. If FIU beats Marshall at home, they're actually losing by 4 points right now. UAB can still lose to Middle Tennessee because FIU will be the East winner, not Middle Tennessee. And the tiebreaker would be overall national ranking, which UAB would likely hold in those computer rankings. But regardless of what happens with FIU, you know UAB wants to take care of business. And it's a team, Middle Tennessee, they've been really good because they lost 3 games all to the SEC.
Yeah, you look at Brent Stockstill, the quarterback from Middle Tennessee last week. 30 of 33 against Kentucky. He is passing with such efficiency right now when you look at that program. 35 seniors, though, for UAB. How special would it be for that group to go out with a victory today and head into that conference championship game next week? I'm rooting for them. I know that everybody in the state of Alabama, it seems like such a feel-good story. One of the best stories in college football this year. I think UAB needs to be rooted on to victory today, hopefully, and playing in that game next week.
They've already set so many school records. They've never had a 10-win season before. They are top 5 in a whole lot of defense categories. That's how good this Bill Clark team has been. Elsewhere, down in the FCS, Jacksonville State did not have a very good end to the regular season the way they wanted to, but their journey to an FCS playoff title game begins tonight, 6:30 against East Tennessee at home. Now, last weekend's loss in 5 overtimes at Kennesaw State likely did cost them a bye, though, this weekend. But you know what? It may sound crazy. JSU would rather play in the first round because the last 2 years they had a bye didn't go so well.
I feel like we're playing good football, and that's going what you want. We get to play at home this first round, and it may be good for us to play first round. We've kind of not handled the bye week, over Thanksgiving too well. One side of the ball in different years has not played well coming out of that bye.
And those recent woes, major letdowns in 2016 and 2017, especially after they went to the national title game back in 2015. So that team definitely has a chance to do what they need to do in Jacksonville State. It begins this week at home. We'll have highlights of that coming up on the wrap-up show at 10:30. We are awaiting two things: Auburn's Tiger Walk and Alabama's Walk of Champions. This is a live look at those right now. It's coming up next on our pregame show on CBS 42.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday pregame, presented by Pepsi.
Cue the buses, cue AC/DC. Mike, it means one thing: it's the best Walk of Champions all year long.
Yeah, it definitely is. You got to love the passion coming out of the crowd. There's nothing like it. I got chills when the buses pulled up a minute ago. I tried to wave to Nick Saban. I don't think he saw me. I don't think he saw me. It was a get off the bus.
Well, you know what? I was wondering who you were pointing at. I was like, I don't think Nick Saban's focusing in on anything but winning this game right now. I'm sure as we speak, he's walking across the field. Why does he do that? He goes right through the tunnel and walks across the field.
I think that it's just a way to kind of get the mindset right for not only himself but the players, and make sure that nothing takes them off guard when they walk out of that tunnel later on in the game. If you want to go out there, check out the field conditions, see which direction the wind's blowing, maybe see which direction you want to kick the football after the coin toss. He's going to get the whole feeling. There's not a detail that he doesn't miss.
Now, back in the day, the memories at Bryant-Denny Stadium of the Iron Bowl weren't that great, but then things started to change once you got on the team. 2008 was one of those years where you guys, really start to roll there. And for more on that, let's go to Chris Wrinkle on the other side of the stadium. Alabama, you think this rivalry has been so lopsided, but it really hasn't been. And just recently at Bryant-Denny Stadium, it has been.
Yeah, Alabama, the last 3 times that this Iron Bowl has been played at Bryant-Denny Stadium, have defended their turf and done it pretty darn well. We'll go back to 2016. This Auburn team was looking for a quarterback. It was Sean White, then he was hurt, and it was Jeremy Johnson. And actually, their leading passer was John Franklin III, but their leading offensive player was Daniel Carlson. He had to hit 4 field goals. This Alabama team absolutely dominated. A 30-12 win. Ardarius Stewart over 100 all-purpose yards. Alabama rolled that season all the way to the national championship game. If offense was an issue in that game, it wasn't in 2014. The highest scoring Iron Bowl ever. 55-44. Alabama won that one in an absolutely high-flying game. It went back and forth, back and forth. I think Nick Saban said afterwards, usually you win a game like that, your defensive coordinator is gone. Well, Kirby Smart didn't quite lose his job. And obviously did some pretty good things after that. But then you go back all the way to 2012, an absolutely dominating game that Auburn fans want to forget. 49-0, the Crimson Tide win. A.J. McCarron threw 4 touchdowns. Eddie Lacy had over 100 yards. He scored 2 touchdowns. Amari Cooper had 2 more touchdowns. What more can you say then? The Crimson Tide took them out to the woodshed for a hugely lopsided win. So that's the last 3 times that Alabama and Auburn have faced off in Bryant-Denny Stadium. The Crimson Tide obviously hoping to extend that with an offensive dominating performance here. But the Auburn Tigers, their defense pretty darn good. The question is, will they score enough points to beat that Crimson Tide offense? Eli Gold has seen quite a bit of Alabama games. He shared a few of his favorite memories with me earlier in the week.
I was caught up in and was involved in the games that were first played on the respective campuses.
Pat Dye's team looking for a piece of its 3rd straight SEC title. It's a Southern-style shootout, and it's a landmark event in Alabama.
Which was huge in those days because, Alabama had improved and enlarged Bryant-Denny Stadium. Auburn had done the same at Jordan-Hare, and it became clear that it was time for the games to be played on campus.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday pregame, presented by Pepsi.
Here's a live look on the field. Nick Saban doing an interview right now with CBS Sports. They'll have their national coverage coming up at 2 o'clock before kickoff at 2:30 for the Iron Bowl. A real issue last week was the field and what happened with the rain and the Citadel and the turf. Nick Saban saw a serious concern with that.
Yeah, I think our people are doing everything they can. We had quite a bit of rain. We may get some rain before this game. So we have a plan for what we're going to try to do to get the field in the best condition that we possibly can.
Now, Mike, I know you woke up this morning a few blocks away and you said, are there helicopters inside the stadium?
I did. I heard the sounds of the helicopter and I was like, wow, the helicopter's already circling. Then I realized that's inside the stadium, the helicopter inside the stadium. Then a second one swirls around and comes in. I knew exactly what was going on.
Well, that's one way to kind of air raid that grass. Hopefully it won't affect either team, because you'd hate to see something come down to a slip on the field or something like that, but it looks like they're taking very unique precautions to get this field ready for the game at 2:30. And for more on that, let's go back to Birmingham with meteorologist Taylor Plott to get an answer on that weather.
Take a look at that Iron Bowl forecast for today. We'll have clouds moving across the area later on this morning into the afternoon hours, but good news is on Futurecast, we're not seeing any potential for some rainfall during your pregame tailgating hours or your football time frame as well for the game itself. Here's your Iron Bowl forecast in more detail. 64 degrees about kickoff, dropping down to 62 degrees about halftime, and then 59 degrees about your fourth quarter and final, again with no rain in the forecast.
You know, one thing is certain, no matter what happens with this weather, these fans are never going to let the weather dictate how much fun they're going to have. And for more on that, take it away, Hillary, Jack, and Michelle.
Oh, yeah, they're not letting the weather. I mean, the weather couldn't be more perfect right now.
No, and we're underneath one of the coolest tailgates here. Michelle and I and Hillary bumped into Jack, who runs the RV park here. A lot of people throw up tents on game day, but they got some pretty unique memorabilia here.
Pat and Andy Jones out of Sylacauga, Alabama, made this trailer into a bar, and they've got all sorts of tickets displayed here from previous games, and they've just done a wonderful job. They opened it up to everybody in the RV park.
And you'll see some things on these tickets. Legion Field, a name younger Bama fans are not familiar with in the context of Alabama and Auburn games. We've interviewed some players this week and talked about how a handful of Alabama players and Auburn players got to play in an Iron Bowl in Legion Field, Bryant-Denny, Tuscaloosa. Kind of nice for your sake to have them back here every 2 years, right?
Oh, absolutely. But when it was at Legion Field, it was 50-50, and that was a great atmosphere. But we'd rather have them here at our home court.
Michelle Logan's a California transplant to Alabama. You're seeing the passion today.
I am. This is my first Iron Bowl, and it's awesome to see, you know, the history here on the tickets and also the history on people coming back year after year here at the RV park and just all over Tuscaloosa. Keep coming back for more. It's quite the family.
I would call this a luxury RV park, perhaps. They know how to do it here. They know how to throw down in Tuscaloosa's coach's corner. For now, let's get back to campus with Chris and Mike, guys.
You know it's going to be a battle of strength on strength. Alabama scoring offense, Auburn scoring defense, both top 10 in the country. Here's the big difference at the bottom, though. Alabama's passing attack is 7th in the country, Mike. Auburn's passing efficiency on defense has been very mediocre, 46th in the country, and that's a big difference from last year because Alabama is so different than they were last year on some levels. One of those is passing. Yeah. Auburn's secondary has a serious problem today.
And it definitely is the secondary. When you look at those mediocre numbers, it's not because they're not getting to the quarterback. When you look at the way they rush the passer, they are only 2nd in the SEC to Alabama in terms of getting those sacks defensively. You know Kevin Steele and company, if anybody can game plan against a Nick Saban football team and a Nick Saban-led offense, it is Kevin Steele. He's been inside and outside of this building right now. He is going to blitz, and he is going to blitz, and he is going to blitz some more. Deshaun Davis is going to be a busy man today, trying to get Tua Tagovailoa uncomfortable back in the pocket.
Yeah, leading tackler on the team. He's the emotional leader. We know that. Darrell Williams, another linebacker, is going to have to really step up. He's 2nd on the team in tackles behind Deshaun Davis. And then on the other side for Alabama's offense, it doesn't need to be any different than it has been all year long, but I know they want to establish the run, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to come out and try to establish a run just to have that balance. Just to you can use the play action later on in the game. You can use the handoffs to Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, some of the other guys in that backfield. Allow Tua Tagovailoa to throw it down the field. I think when you look at this Alabama offense and the way Tua is kind of taking hold of this thing, you don't see that in the Auburn side of things. Jared Stidham, for everything he should be and everything he wants to be, just has not really panned out in this Auburn offense. And the way they take the field today, when you look at their offensive line, Quinnen Williams, that Alabama defensive line, boy, they are looking for a post-Thanksgiving feast today against Auburn and company.
And speaking of, how about the other side of the ball? The story of the year for Auburn has been the lack of consistency with that offense. Look at their yards per game. 84th in the country is nowhere near what Gus Malzahn is used to. And Alabama's defense, they're so used to being number 1 in the country in every big stat. I think 3rd in scoring and 7th in yards is still pretty darn good, Mike. So Alabama, they've been getting the credit lately that they deserved earlier in the year because the offense was so good. The issue for Auburn is going to be that offensive line. Never mind all the starters that they lost last year, 4 of them. The issue is going to be, number one, protecting Jarrett Stidham, because I don't know how anybody thinks Auburn's going to run the ball efficiently.
Yeah, that's going to be the problem. When you look at this offensive line, they've had a number of different combinations in there. They've put different guards in, different tackles. They've made switches mid-game against some of the teams they have been playing to see if they can get something to get this offense going. Now, Jarrett Stidham knows what it's like to beat Alabama. Jarrett Stidham also knows that it takes a running game to be able to do that. Kerryon Johnson not showing up today. Who can find those rushing yards? Can this offensive line provide some of those seams against Raekwon Davis and Anthony Jennings and a number of other defenders on this Alabama defense? Their backs are against the wall, though. There is really no clear path for them to get this done. They have not shown that ability all season. It's going to be an uphill climb for them today.
Yeah, they went 170 minutes of not giving up a point. LSU, Mississippi State, it got broken by, albeit the Citadel. Who would have known that? So this is a very serious game every year for every player, but the seniors, it means a whole lot more. Simone Eli back with us on the other side of Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Yeah, Brees, it certainly does. You know, we're here outside Tiger Walk right now, waiting for players and coaches to arrive. They're a few minutes behind schedule, but you can hear the chants and excitement of the Tiger faithful. And like you said, the senior players on both sides of this rivalry, this game matters to them. They want a win regardless of what the future holds for either Auburn or Alabama.
Playing in it and just knowing, you know, all these guys grew up just kind of hating one school or the other. So it's been a lot of fun to play in this game, and I know it means a lot to these people.
I've always been an Auburn fan. My uncle played here, so it's always meant a lot to me to see Auburn win, and just the importance of the Iron Bowl for the fans. You always want to go out and try to do a little more for them because they care so much about it.
You know, it means a lot to a lot of people. You know, it's always a very exciting game. It's a big rivalry game, so you know, it's the end of the regular season, so it just means a lot to a lot of people.
You know, leading up to this game, man, it's my last one. Last Iron Bowl, last regular season game. Probably my last time wearing a white uniform, you know, at Auburn University. So before the ball is snapped, I'm definitely going to look around and just take in the environment.
Well, that guy right there, senior linebacker Deshaun Davis, he's as passionate as it gets in college football, and I think he said it best this week. They don't like us, we don't like them. Let's play football. It's going to be a great game, guys. Tiger Walk very shortly going to get underway here on the southwest corner of Bryant-Denny Stadium. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, and for Alabama, even though they won the national championship last year, they still heard it from Auburn fans because they lost.
Yeah, they definitely did. Never a good thing to lose that game, even with that national championship trophy in tow.
Hey, coming up next, court is in session with everybody's favorite judge. He's back.
Over the years, the court of college football has taken on some big cases in discussing who is better in college football. But this one is as big as it gets. It's Nick Saban versus Bear Bryant. The court of college football determines who is the greatest of all time. It's coming up on CBS 42.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday pregame, presented by Pepsi.
So if you have a debate with an Alabama fan about college football wins and championships, there's not much you can argue, but there is one debate no Alabama fan wants to have with each other. It's who's the greatest coach of all time, Nick Saban or Bear Bryant, because it is getting very close after what happened last year. Nick Saban, it was significant because he got his 6th national title in his career overall and tied him with the Bear for most all-time for a coach. And now this year, Saban's poised to break that record and get his 7th overall, 6th with the Crimson Tide. Now, Nick Saban is still not done coaching, but it brings up a very interesting debate. So what do we want to do? We want to bring in the experts, the greatest court in all of the college football land. He's back again once again. It's the segment I like to call Too Many Chris Wrinkles.
Hey, you can never have too many Chris Wrinkles, but like you said, you want to argue Saban versus Bryant. It's comparing apples and oranges. I mean, they're so similar in so many different ways. And like you said, Nick Saban isn't quite done yet, but he's doing a lot of the things that Bear Bryant did way back in the day. But in comparing all of that, you really need experts. So we took it to the highest court in all of college football, and the lovable idiots who are going to break it all down for us. The court of college football is back in session.
Order, order. The court of college football is back in session. This case number 4 is a big one. The case of the GOAT, Nick Saban versus Bear Bryant.
I'd like for the people to remember me as being a winner, because I ain't never been nothing but a winner.
I'd really rather not have any more questions about, is it okay to lose this game? It's never okay to lose a game.
Counselors, you may approach the bench. To decide on such an important case, we have assembled a jury of your peers.
Actually, Your Honor, we're going to move that juror number 4 be dismissed. Come on, guys. I can be unbiased. Yeah, right, buddy. Get out of here. Whatever. War Eagle, y'all. Agreed. Juror number 4, you are dismissed. Really? Hey, buddy, long time.
Counselors, you may begin your arguments.
Now, esteemed and, might I say, very handsome members of the jury, this all comes down to winning. What else do we play the game for? And the fact of the matter is, Bear Bryant has won more than Nick Saban. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Saban hasn't finished his career yet. But in order to catch Bear Bryant's 323 total wins, Nick Saban needs 6.5 more undefeated seasons. Well, when we're talking about win totals, you have to remember how much time Nick Saban spent time in the NFL as a head coach and a coordinator. Had he just gone straight to college, that win total would have been a lot closer. But when he's been at college, he's been second to none. Saban has never had a losing season. In today's world of scholarship restrictions and highly competitive recruiting, what Nick Saban has done on the field is second to none. Winning isn't everything in today's day and age. Winning national championships is everything. I submit into evidence Nick Saban's 6 national titles.
And the Crimson Tide has once again ascended to the top of the college football mountain.
Now, I know on paper that these two gentlemen have the same amount of national championships, but 2 of Bear Bryant's, 64 and 73, are heavily contested. Nick Saban did something Bear never did. He won at another school, building LSU into a championship caliber program in 2003. Before we go talking about claiming national championships, the Bear could have claimed plenty more at Alabama. But national championships aside, let's talk about SEC championships, because Bear has double the amount of Nick Saban. He has 14 to Saban's 7. Bear Bryant's impact on the world of college football is still being felt today. He's been dead for 35 years, and he still has former assistants in the NFL and the college football ranks. Bottom line, Nick Saban, what he's doing, he's benefiting off of what Bear Bryant built. Nick Saban might not be the first one in this argument, but at the end of the day, he's doing something that no one else has done in the history of college football. Think of all the SEC coaches that have been gone because they haven't done what Saban has done. Les Miles, Brett Bielema, Mark Richt. Bottom line, Nick Saban is winning at a clip that no one else in college football has done at the similar span. I'm going to stop this court right here. Now, with a case like this, we're not going to be able to really reach a final verdict until we see Nick Saban's entire career. So I'm going to table this discussion until Nick Saban retires and we're able to look at his career under a microscope. Case is tabled until after Nick Saban retires. Next up is UCF, if they belong in the college football playoff. Yes, finally, it's my turn. I'm going to say everyone some time and say the answer is no.
Certainly an interesting discussion, whichever way you break it down. But like they said, Nick Saban's final career, that's when we'll really be able to determine how many national championships, wins, and all that he has. And then we'll be able to accurately compare him to Bear Bryant.
Your Honor, I have something I'd like to bring in front of the court. It's all-time win percentage by coaches. Nick Saban is behind all of these guys. Knute Rockne, Fielding Yost, Tom Osborne, Bear Bryant, and then Nick Saban. Every other coach on this list has not coached in a very long time, so that is apples to oranges. But if you're just going to go Nick Saban and Bear Bryant, look, both of them have so many similarities. Yes, national championships. They took over programs that were bad and then good. Yep. But you have to look at what Bear Bryant did at Kentucky, their only conference title outright in the 1950s. And then at Texas A&M, they were abysmal. 2 years later, they won the conference. Where do you stand? Be unbiased. Nick Saban is a wonderful coach.
You know it's hard.
You have to wait till his career's over.
My unbiased opinion, and you definitely have to wait till their career's over to be able to really measure things side by side. But when I look at Nick Saban and I look at Bear Bryant, Nick Saban just coaches in a different day and age. You mentioned it, all those high winning percentages, those were a long time ago. I mean, we got to go back 40, 50 years to get to some of those coaches, including Bear Bryant. Nick Saban, with all the rules put in place, with all the scholarship restrictions, with everything that looks around college football, it's really at its peak right now, and he is masterminding this game at its peak. I've got to go with Nick Saban. I apologize to Alabama fans, but it's only a matter of time before it's the Bear Bryant and Nick Saban Museum and not just the Bryant Museum.
He's changed coaching alone. The court,
really has.
whoever was the defendant or the prosecutor, whoever was in that story, said it best, that the fact that Nick Saban is forcing coaches to win early. That's never happened before.
Yeah, he's changed the dynamic as far as college football goes. No longer do you get 4 years or 5 years to be able to turn a program around. It's 2. You have to see the difference in year 2, where some of these guys just aren't believing in their program. The ADs are moving fast. They're getting itchy in terms of their coaches not being able to get the wins on the field. He really has changed the dynamic, not only around the SEC, but around the country in terms of what really is expected of coaches and the success level they can achieve.
He's also great at finding senior leaders to lead his team in the Iron Bowl every year, and Auburn has exactly that with Deshaun Davis. Coming up next on our pregame show, Davis has not been very public about this at all, but something that he does every week before the game, a relationship that he has molded, a weekly tradition on Saturdays that they will not dare skip ever once. It's coming up next. Before we go to break, though, Gus Malzahn, what does he have to prove for the Auburn Tigers? Well, he's got that contract, but he wants to prove that, everybody, I am the coach for the future for Auburn. I've already beaten Nick Saban twice, going for a third, and yes, it would shock the world. We're back after this.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday pregame, presented by Pepsi.
Moments ago, the Auburn Tigers arrived at a place that they're not used to winning at lately. Chris Wrinkle went over the last 3 wins for Alabama, but we will say this, Mike, it's been very, very close in the first half. That's something to look out for Auburn today, too.
It definitely is, too, and Auburn's going to try to make it a slugfest. They're going to try to go punch for punch with Alabama today. Can they get it done? That's the biggest question mark for Gus Malzahn.
Well, we're hoping no fans so far are going punch for punch, because earlier when we checked in with Hillary Simon, some fans were talking about, would you rather die or be an Auburn fan? What's the update on that, Hillary?
I think the update is they still are going to be saying roll tide. I'm running to basically all right, especially Landon. Hey, Landon, what do you say again?
Roll tide.
Roll tide. Here's his Uncle Randy, and this is your first Iron Bowl?
It is my first Iron Bowl.
What are you excited about?
Just being at the game, all the crowd, ready to go.
Can I just say I would not guess it's your first Iron Bowl given the attire here. Where do you buy pants like these, man?
I found them offline somewhere.
There you go.
Yeah,
Hey,
it was awesome.
That's the ultimate fan cam. The fans are wearing houndstooth pants. We must be in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah. Right. So we're probably mostly Alabama fans, but don't worry, there's some more Eagles around too that we've been speaking to. We'll have more coming up later. Back to you guys.
Well, so 4 years now, you've been seeing a guy on Auburn's defense who has been everywhere. He's number 57, Deshaun Davis. Not only is he the emotional leader on this team, he also leads the team in tackles. He's the one guy who the Tigers will depend on today. But Simone Eli with us now. There's somebody else who's depending on Deshaun Davis today to show up for him.
Yeah, Brees, there certainly is. Like you said, Deshaun Davis is the heart and soul of this Tiger team on and off the field. The Tiger faithful absolutely love him, but he has built an unbreakable bond with one 6-year-old young man. His name is Thomas Phillips, a love that was rooted in his upbringing.
Legendary Pritchard Stadium, and here come the home crowd Viger Wolves.
I'm not running from who I am.
Everyone's just fired up. I tell you, it's great to see this community out here.
I'm never running from a situation that I've grown up in or a situation that my family is currently in.
Circumstances do not make the man. They reveal him.
I've accepted the challenge to make myself better than the situation that I've been in.
Auburn's Deshaun Davis might not look like your typical star SEC linebacker.
Deshaun Davis again.
And when he tells his story, it's even more impressive that he is.
I grew up in a single-parent home. Me and my dad have a really good relationship right now, but when I was growing up, we never lived in the same house. Me and my father never stayed in the same house.
Deshaun and his older brother were raised by their mom, Connie, in Pritchard, a suburb of Mobile, Alabama.
I just knew that troubles were easy to get into, so I knew the goals that he had and the things that he wanted to do, so I was trying to keep him from being in trouble or hanging with the wrong people.
Anytime you turn on the news, It's bad news. You know, you walking around the street, you got to turn your head all the time. And when your mom don't want you to play basketball in the street, it's not a good environment.
Unable to control the outside world, Deshaun's mother made sure her home was full of love on the inside.
I'll be in the room and me and my brother's playing the game and we think everything is good. And we're walking past her room to go put a bowl in the kitchen or something, and she's crying. And as a kid, you don't really understand. It kind of made us want to put our mother in a better situation. My older brother was actually the first person in my family to graduate from college.
After an all-state junior season at Viger High School, Deshaun committed to Auburn, but an ACL tear would sideline his senior year. Only one person could ease the frustration.
Being a parent, you don't want to see your son or your child go through, anything like that, especially when they have goals that they're trying to meet.
And she's the toughest person I've ever met in my entire life because she had to be a male figure and a mother at the same time. And that's very hard when you have to show your kids or your sons how to be a man, but still be that emotional, support that they need also.
My faith and just trying to keep him encouraged and depending on God and knowing that God had something very special for him.
Despite the injury, Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn honored Deshaun's scholarship offer, a gamble that's paid off on the Plains.
And Auburn comes up. Deshaun Davis fills the hole and a 1-yard loss.
If it wasn't for a scholarship, I probably wouldn't be sitting here, having this conversation with you.
On the gridiron, a tough playmaker. But underneath the shoulder pads lies a heart, strong and soft, just like Mom.
That's how we were as a family, always trying to, bring positive light into, dark situations. That was something I was big on. That's how my mom raised me. That's how we were as a family.
Deshaun has become that positive light for so many of the Tiger faithful, but none more than 6-year-old Thomas Phillips.
One game I was just walking down, doing my normal pregame routine, going to the end zone, and he kind of had his hands out for me and just wanted me to hold him. And I was just looking at him, and his grandfather's like, come over. So I went over there, and I gave him a hug. I've never had love at first sight with a female, but with that kid, it was literally like love at first sight. And after that game, I ran down and gave him my gloves and my sleeves after the game.
That was 2016. Since then, it's become a part of Deshaun's pre- and post-game routine every football Saturday for the past 3 years at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Before every game, I'm going to walk down there and hug him. I'm going to pray with him. I take him on the field. We pray at the goalpost every game.
You see it in their eyes. I only describe it as a God thing, but it's deeper than I can imagine.
There's your buddy.
When Deshaun picks him up, he's patting Deshaun on the back. Here's a guy who is now the captain of the football team, who reaches out to a 6-year-old child to just offer a hug and a pair of gloves.
Small symbols of a much bigger bond.
What number is that?
It's more dad-son thing because, they love each other. It's an inspiration.
I can see how he was raised. Even though it was a single mom at the time, he was raised with love, and he knows what love is, and he knows how to share love.
As much as I probably touched him, he's touched me probably 2 times more than that.
A father-like love built by a mother's heart.
I do it because I love people. I do it because I know why God placed me on this earth. Light will always outshine darkness, no matter what. So, it's not about color, and it's not about race or anything about that, man. It's just about being there for people, and trying to change the world and make people better people.
Well, it doesn't get much better than Deshaun Davis. Just moments ago, we might be at Bryant-Denny Stadium, but he came off the bus, immediately went over to his parents and picked up Thomas Phillips. It was a beautiful moment. A lot of happy tears shed here at Bryant-Denny Stadium as we prepare for the Iron Bowl. Now, one guy who has seen a lot of these great Iron Bowl games is the voice of the Tigers, Rod Bramblett. I spoke with him earlier this week.
My spotter at the time was Bo Benton, hands me a Post-it note. Don't forget, if it comes up short, he can run it out. I'm like Ron Burgundy. I'll read anything on the teleprompter. You just give it to me and I'll read it.
Well, I guess if this thing comes up short, he can field it and run it out.
Rod Bramblett's #1 Iron Bowl, of course, is the kick six. He says there could be nothing better unless something like that happened yet again. We'll see. Today here at Bryant-Denny Stadium, we'll have more on this Iron Bowl special just ahead. Stay with us.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday pregame, presented by Pepsi.
So we know Jalen Hurts will not be the starting quarterback today, but what could we say about some potential plays with him, some trickeration?
I think there's probably a page out of Gus Malzahn's playbook probably taken today.
Yeah, so Chris Wrinkle spent a lot of time with the guys calling the game this weekend, Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson, and even they say this 24.5-point spread maybe shouldn't be as big as it is.
And it's almost kickoff on the game that everyone's been waiting weeks for, and the guys calling it, Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson joining me now. Guys, here we are. The Iron Bowl doesn't have the same kind of buildup as it did last year, but always a good rivalry game between these two.
Yeah, last year we had Auburn on a roll, beating Georgia with #1, and then taking care of Alabama #1, and they were en route to maybe a playoff if they could beat Georgia a second time. So a little luster is off it, but you know what? When you get these two teams together, I don't think that even mattered.
Now, we saw with the Mississippi State game that they were able to get pressure up front onto he wasn't as mobile, but those defensive tackles really wrecked Alabama's interior offensive line. Auburn's defensive line arguably as good, if not better. Do you think that's something that they're going to be able to take advantage of?
They have to. The quickest way to the quarterback is up the middle. Tua really handles usually the outside rush guys, but they can't depend on getting to Tua from the outside. It's got to be up front.
Auburn pulls off the upset. What do you think this does for the college football playoff?
Well, I still think if they beat Georgia, they're in. If you just look at Alabama, if they're a one-loss team or not, whether they lose this one or they lose next week, Gary and I have been talking about this for 2 months. If you don't look at them and just go, they're one of the best 4 teams in the country, then I'm not seeing the other 100 teams that are better than they are.
Here's the thing about this game. If there was an upset, everybody's rooting for around the country. Everybody's rooting for Auburn for an upset. But if Alabama wins this game, the rest of the country's rooting for Alabama to win the last game, because if Alabama loses to Georgia, there's going to be a lot of voting going on after that, and I don't think the rest of college football wants that.
So if you're Auburn, it's the way that you attack Tua Tagovailoa, not from the outside, from the inside. Why is that?
Well, I think when you bring these corner blitzes and edge rushers and bring strong side backers and weak side backers, Tua does such a good job of finding his outlets in the flat. You look at some of his package. Josh Jacobs in the flats, Damian Harris in the flats, the swing routes, the checkdowns. He will eat you alive if you come off the edge. You have to get in his face, force him to roll outside of the pocket if you're trying to get Tua Tagovailoa affected. They have the guys to do that on this Auburn defense today. I think it's one of the biggest battles. Kevin Steele will look to get pressure and the A and B gaps. Deontay Brown still questionable from that injury. We'll see how that affects the game plan.
2 weeks ago, Mississippi State, a season low for Tua Tagovailoa, 164 yards. Is that the identical game plan that Auburn goes for?
I think it's very, very close. And they have a lot of the similar personnel. When you look at the front seven, you look at the defensive lineman, you look at Jeffrey Simmons and compare him to a guy like Marlon Davidson. Very similar the way they can affect the center and the guards for Alabama today. So Alex Leatherwood, like I said, Deontay Brown, Pierce Baker, a lot of things going on up the middle that they're going to have to solidify that offensive game plan moving forward through this game.
Everybody loves the Heisman moments. Kyler Murray had his last night in a victory over West Virginia. Tua Tagovailoa has an excellent chance to do that today. We have Mike's predictions on this game and other games coming up next on our pregame show.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday pregame, presented by Pepsi.
Hey guys, how's it going? We are a part of the fan camp today, and we are inside such a unique bar that they completely built. Look at all the details, the lights, everything is all Alabama gear. Jack Royer, you are an Alabama alum. What is it like to come here for the Iron Bowl?
Students get the student experience. They have to wait in line and get the student tickets and get into the game. The last Iron Bowl I was at was 2 years ago. As a student, will admit, so it's cool to come back down here as an alum. Cool if you've not gone to school here, right?
Never been here, and it's undeniable how much, just
the attention to detail on something like this goes to show how much passion they have about the history and moving forward. You know, they appreciate every moment of being here.
Everybody here is so hyped too. And what I love is that even Auburn fans here that come here, everyone's so welcoming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, such good spirits. Everyone just here having, it's like a holiday. Going from Thanksgiving, you got the Iron Bowl, and the holidays ahead.
I don't think Auburn fans would say they feel too welcome in Tuscaloosa today, but it's the Iron Bowl.
They're bringing that vibe for sure.
That's
but
right.
You hear a lot of Roll Tide, right, Pat? Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
There we go.
So we're having such a great time though, and they're getting ready for some food and then watch the Iron Bowl game. So stick with us. I'll go ahead and send it back to you guys.
It's the week to give thanks, and the week in college football that's just as fun to watch as it is hard to say. Rivalry week, week 13. Say it with me, rivalry week. And up in Columbus, Michigan has not won on the road against Ohio State since 2000. Mike was in middle school just trying to make friends back then. And Dwayne Haskins is a serious problem for Michigan's defense. His yards per completion are ridiculous right now.
Yeah, I think when you look at Urban Meyer and the way he attacks this Michigan defense, Dwayne Haskins really having a field day so far against Michigan's defense.
Well, Haskins and that Ohio State offense have 24 points right now at the half. Michigan got lucky with a muffed punt right before the half, 24-19. They got a touchdown. We're about to start the third quarter there. Okay, Georgia also in rivalry week, trying not to sleepwalk with Georgia Tech, because the last thing you want to do, lose the game before the SEC title, and it's laughable to think that that was possible.
Yeah, it's laughable now looking at it. And I got to tell you, Alabama fans should be forewarned with what they're seeing right now out of Georgia. The Bulldogs look like they are playing at a very high level right now.
Wanye Thomas, 100 yards to the house. That sure will help. 14-7 Dogs, and this one just keeps getting uglier and uglier out of hand for Georgia. They're easily going to cruise to the SEC title game next week against Alabama on their home turf. It'll be on CBS 42. They're up 45-7 right now on Georgia Tech. Florida and Florida State. Florida's playing for a New Year's Six bowl. Florida State trying to make a bowl game. This one's real close. Typical rivalry.
Yeah, both first-year coaches coming into this matchup. Dan Mullen against Willie Taggart. Somebody's trying to get that first leg up in this rivalry. Looks like it might be Dan Mullen so far.
It was LaMichael Pirine early, too. 74 yards for a score. It was 10-0 Gators, but DeAndre Francois has been criticized all year long. That's to Cam Akers. They need Akers to be a stud, and so far so good in this game.
Yeah, I think when you look at DeAndre Francois, he has not had much protection. A lot of people yelling for his backup, James Blackman, but he continues to deliver in some of these situations.
Very close game. You knew it would be. It's at Florida State. That helps the Seminoles. 13-7. They're in the third quarter right now. We'll have that game on our post-game show, 6 to 8 o'clock. Okay, how about games coming up later today? The slate right now is what is so important and impressive right now, but later in the day, you've got South Carolina and Clemson. South Carolina is a huge underdog in this game. Nobody gives them a chance. Do you give them a chance?
I don't give them much of a chance either. And listen, you thought this Iron Bowl spread was out of hand. You look at Clemson, South Carolina, you're looking at possibly 26 points when you approach this game. Right now, Clemson's just playing at such a high level. South Carolina, while Jake Bentley's done some good things with Brian McClendon as his offensive coordinator this year, this defensive line from Clemson is going to shape up to be just too much for the South Carolina offense to overcome. I think Clemson cruises in this football game.
All of South Carolina's victories have been against underranked teams. They are 0-4 against ranked teams.
Yep.
Travis Etienne could have a huge day against a very porous run defense for South Carolina. Notre Dame and USC. It's a game where the Irish are not used to being a favorite on the road, but history says favorites on the road by double digits, it's very scary.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, especially in rivalry weekend, and you look at Notre Dame, really they've had some good things happen to them as a football team under Brian Kelly. Going west of the Rocky Mountains has not been one of them. Against the spread, there's something like 1-9 the last 10 times they've gone west of the Rocky Mountains. I think Notre Dame wins this football game, but I don't think it's a runaway. USC still has some talent. Clay Helton knows how to coach in these rivalry games. I think SC will be ready to play. Notre Dame will win the game in the end.
Everybody already has Clay Helton out the door. He wasn't even like in the top 10 of the odds list that Vegas put out for to be the coach next year for USC. That's how bad it was. They lost to a 2-8 UCLA team last week. In the SEC, Texas A&M at home. They're trying to get that 8th win, which would be progress from last year. And Kevin Sullivan, they have LSU very close. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think when I look at this football game, first of all, Texas A&M has not beaten LSU since they have been in the SEC. It's a hurdle they still have to climb. Jimbo Fisher's going to try to get that done. They are very good. Mike Elko's defense against the run. So far this season, that's all you've seen LSU be able to be successful with. I'm taking Texas A&M in this game to be able to knock off LSU for the first time since they've been in the Southeastern Conference.
LSU's won 7 straight in this rivalry, something that A&M, Jimbo train going north. It's going to be looking good next year if they can get that victory. How about predictions in the Iron Bowl? You have to wait. It's coming up on the other side of this break on CBS 42. The Iron Bowl, maybe Texas A&M, LSU could be a chance to be our game of the week this week on the College Football Wrap-Up Show, and you'll have a chance to vote for those after the wrap-up at 10:30. CBS_42 on Twitter. Our best 3 nominees are coming up tonight, late night. You got to stay with CBS 42 all day long.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday pregame, presented by Pepsi.
Tua looked good last week with a knee brace off against the Citadel. Mike, their keys to the game, they got to keep him upright.
They got to keep him upright. We've talked about it all day. Kevin Steele being the defensive coordinator, they're going to blitz. They're going to blitz often. You saw it work for Mississippi State last week. Deshaun Davis blitzing up the A and B gaps. Going to be up to that center and those guards for Alabama to keep him upright today.
First time we saw Tua vulnerable, and then do not allow explosive plays on defense.
We know Gus Malzahn. We know what Jared Stidham's arm is. We know what this wide receiver core can do. They're going to try to throw over the top. They're going to do it early and often. They're going to take their shots down the field. They know they can't grind out drives against this Alabama defense. They're going to try to make a lot of explosive plays today.
Have not done that much all year long. And for Auburn, the best performance of the year for an O-line that gets no credit.
Yeah, they're going to have their best performance of the season. When you look at the way they have performed so far throughout the year, they have to really step up to the plate today in order for them to have even a fighting chance at winning this game against Alabama. They need their best performance of the year.
Physical football in the Iron Bowl. Auburn has to do that.
Yeah, they got to find the strength in the front seven. That's what this football team is all about. Kevin Steele, the front seven, this defensive line, that linebacking core, they have to lead this team to victory today. They have to play at a very high level against a very tough offense to defend.
So it's a game with so many iconic moments. They all have a name. Bo over the top, Bo the wrong way, the kick six, Cam back, punt, Bama punt. Bama's got one word on their mind today, or do they? Revenge. They're not playing for 2017. They're playing for the national title. They are playing to pummel their rival at their home field.
A big game to a lot of people, the Iron Bowl, all over the state and really all over the country.
Anytime you play the Iron Bowl and you win, I mean, that's big on both sides.
It comes from deep in the red soil. The substance that built a nation and what binds two bitter rivals in an internal struggle.
Whatever happens the previous year, you hear about it until the next game, and you'll hear about it for years.
When I chose Auburn, and to this day when I go home, I hear about it.
From its origins at Lakeview Park and beyond, it's Bo leaping into the record books.
Jackson, touchdown.
A snake in the mud. And 1 second between defeat and glory.
There goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
It was fan day, my first season here, and everyone came up to me and it seemed like everyone was just saying, hey, you guys going to beat Auburn this year.
Anything can happen in this game, and rivalry games for whatever reason are just like that.
For the 83rd time, these two rivals square off to write a new chapter.
81 yards. Hello, have we seen this script before?
It's a big game for a lot of our players. It's a big game for our team. It's a big game for our fans.
Floats it for the end zone for Williams. Did he catch it? Oh, yeah! Touchdown, Auburn!
It's a physical test on both sides, and it's football at its highest.
It's the Iron Bowl, and it's time.
We know that Alabama has not had a game within 22 points this year. Maybe that's why they're a 24.5-point favorite. But every time they are a big favorite, the first half always a one-score game.
Yeah, you got to look at what's going to go on with Alabama offensively on their first drive. The first time Tua Tagovailoa gets the ball in his hands, that's really going to be the key to victory. Both these teams will come out. They'll kind of feel each other out as this game begins and it gets off the ground. How soon can Alabama get its legs up under them, or how quickly can Auburn take their legs out from underneath this Alabama offense? That will tell you the story of how this game's going to go.
Kind of crazy to think that Alabama has been a 20-plus point favorite in this game 3 times since 2011. Both the other two, 11 and 12, they covered that spread. This one, 24.5 points. We know first half in this game are always competitive. Does Auburn have the depth, though, to compete with this team in the second half is probably the big question.
I think that's going to be the question mark, especially when you look at the secondary for Auburn. Obviously, their defense, they're a defensive-laden football team. Their offense has struggled. Can they go stride for stride with this Alabama offense? That's going to be the question mark. I don't think so. I look at this game, you mentioned it, 24.5, 25-point spread. I think Vegas is right on the money in terms of looking at this game. I couldn't possibly stand in front of Bryant-Denny Stadium and tell you anything other than Alabama is going to roll. My score prediction for today's game, 35-10. Alabama has a couple of hiccups in the first half, but I think they roll throughout the second half when that depth really comes to the forefront.
Nick Saban's in the locker room telling them something, a message right now. What is that?
What he's doing, he's telling Alabama to play their football game. Yes, it's a rivalry game. Yes, all the emotions are on the line. Yes, you want revenge, but guess what? It's just the next opponent for Alabama at this point. They've got to win out their football games to achieve their goals. Nick Saban saying, hey, listen, we want to go out and dominate, but make sure you do it calmly and play our style of football.
National coverage coming up next here on CBS 42. Kickoff at 2:30. We're back for 2 hours afterwards for the postgame. Nick Saban and Gus Malzahn live on the air, 6 to 8 p.m. as the players are getting ready. The 83rd edition of the Iron Bowl. We'll see you after the game.